Welcome back to Dive Twang. This is part 2 of our classic progression, E minor 7 and A7. That's a 2-5 progression in D major. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in this video. In part 1, we used the E minor pentatonic scale and different positions to jam over this progression. Okay, a lot of good comments on that. I know a lot of you did a lot of work on that. I talked to some of you about it. So this lesson, we're going to work in a little bit more of a modal feel along with the pentatonic stuff. We're not replacing it, because in rock guitar, you're never going to replace pentatonic playing. That's kind of the, it's not like, oh, this is the simple thing, and then now we're going to do the advanced. No. The next level is really about using the same information in new transformative ways, right? Just becoming more understanding technically and emotionally of the information that we've already been using. It's kind of a cool thing about music improvisation. You keep building on the same foundations. So, little twangism there for you. Let's get right into this. Now, when I say modal, I mean that we're going to be using, along with the pentatonic stuff, we want to integrate some kind of 7-note stuff, right? So we want to identify what diatonic type scales and things would work with this. Now, one thing that somebody already brought up that's a great suggestion and an idea to investigate was, well, if it's E minor pentatonic, if we're using that for this whole thing, then the relative major of that is G. So can I use like G major stuff for the kind of modal approach to it? Great question. And I kind of, kicked the can on that a little bit. I said, hey, hang around till tomorrow and watch part 2 or whatever. So I didn't mean to, not answer the question, but hopefully this addresses it well. So first, let's try that theory, that G major. Okay. On that C a lot, aren't I? It could work in passing, quite a bit, but it doesn't really fit the tonal center, the key center here, right? But it's a great place to start. It's really the only note in that G major scale that kind of stands out as not really fitting, and I think it's because when you go to the A, you got that C sharp, right? That dominant third, and that next door note's just not gonna mesh with that. So with that adjustment, now wait a minute, change that C to a C sharp. So, just to kind of, don't want to dwell there too long. So we made that adjustment. Well, now it turns out that if those notes do fit into are the notes in a major key continuum, but it's D. Okay, so we got a 2 to second tone of that D major, E minor 7 chord, is the 2 chord, then that A is the 5 chord, dominant 7. Okay, don't get hung up on too much of this, right now, because we're going to be able to play over this regardless of your level of understanding of all of that. This lesson's not claiming to deliver the whole thing about what I just said about that key study. But if bits and pieces of that make sense to you, just keep going and it'll come together for you. So what the long and the short of it is, if we play D major stuff over this, okay, so that's starting to sound like something. So one more little definition here. If you play the notes in a major scale, like D major, do, re, mi, and for D, but you start and end on the second tone, same notes, but starting on the second degree of the scale and going up. Okay, that's called Dorian. Now, we just saw that if you just play those notes in D, works out pretty good. Then it's just a matter of choosing where you like to start and stop. And I'm going to show you here in a minute one location where that E minor pentatonic overlaps really well with that E Dorian. So you notice I did some one finger traveling, some horizontal traveling with one finger. Let me do that again, and I think this is a good place to start to really get that sound going in your head and in your body, and really trusting that. So even if we start on the D, so I went from one finger to kind of, start using, more than one finger, but that's I'm just playing that D scale with that one finger, but it doesn't sound like just a do, re, mi scale when you got those chords going on, does it? Sounds a lot more colorful. So don't get hung up all the time on where you're stopping and starting, although it matters in the flavor of the sound, but there's no right or wrong answer to that part of it. And you stay in that continuum of D major, which we could also call, if we start on E Dorian, and you're just going to discover some really cool stuff for yourself. And whenever you have a one note or one fret, interval like that, you can you see me doing that a lot. A lot of just embellishments you can make, like hammering that or bending it slightly. okay, I don't want to get carried away, but man, that's fun. So I took that little, line, and step by step just got comfortable with it, started adding different fingers, bending stuff, back and forth. You really get something going pretty quick there. So that's one kind of routine to practice with, I think. Get in that. Get that sound going, that nice modal sound. Then the other thing, this will be the last feature of this lesson, is to find a place where we can kind of stay in a vertical position at times. I really like to move horizontally and do both things pretty deliberately. But let's look at this pentatonic frame real quick. Now, if you do the work on this, find your D and play that major scale and try to make it overlap with it. Now, if they just don't, your ear pulls you down to that root, but just stay on the from E to E. I like to go up. Then back into that bluesy stuff. Check this out. I know I'm moving kind of fast here, but I hope you get the concept there. And then you got to do some work on this. So a little pentatonic blues stuff. Then a little Dorian. Pentatonic. Hit a couple of, not so good notes in there, and one of them was particularly foul. But, let that happen. Let your, don't try to, intellectualize that. Just keep going, right? And that's a tough thing to do when you're really in kind of your earlier development of improvisational skills, right? Using those skills. So you got your conceptual stuff, kind of what notes we're using, what scale, what key we're in, the modal stuff. But it all really depends also, along with that, with your practiced ability to let yourself explore and not have a judgment about what's going to be right and wrong when you start practicing, right? So hopefully that really gets you going on some stuff here. That part one, I know there was a lot of really good work done on that. And you don't have to, set this whole thing on fire with this Dorian thing. You just want to, mix those little half steps in to the stuff that you're doing already. So you get more, I'm playing a real busy version of this right now. In a real nicer solo, you might be like more hanging out on the bends and stuff. fun with that. Let me know how you're doing. And I appreciate all of you and hope to talk to you soon. Take it easy.